Hey, audio everyone. Lost Sitter here, and I'm here to talk about more vlog stuff, essentially. This is, I want to say, my fifth week at the patch or something like that. Some jazz in accordance to how things are going. And I'm really hoping that I stop using patches and whatnot because they are not working for me. They just are not working for me, as I said previously before. It's just, they're not sticking, and that's kind of the worst bit, is that they're not sticking. So, with that being said, nothing else has been really talked about in accordance to anything else. Pretty much still waiting on certain things and whatnot. I probably have to go get a talk with my therapist and whatnot to make sure I could actually call them and talk to them and do all other such and or such. But there is something that I want to talk about in particular, and that's something that I discussed with my mother yesterday, and something that I really think would be a good discussion here. And it's going to be a bit heavy, admittedly enough, and I understand if you do not agree with me, if you think that I'm wrong, and or just you're not with the idea. You're not with the belief that I have, this ideal belief, quote unquote. But I do want to say, first and foremost, when it comes to religion itself, I have a more dogmatic point of view of it. That is to say that I take a lot of my thoughts and whatnot, and I make them, that's my part of my religion, essentially. This comes from the whole entire Dogma movie itself, where you would actually, you heard Chris Rock actually say, Jesus wants you to have an idea first, not a belief, because a belief is hard to change, but an idea is not. And that's kind of the way I approach it. I approach a lot of my religious thoughts and ideas as simply that, just ideas, not a full-on belief. And this is something that has helped me through my life, and just kind of figured, why has God made me transgender? Does God make mistakes? Things like that. And the way I like to think of it, in all honesty, is that I was given a choice. I like to think of it that way. Not in the sense that, you have to be transgender, or just, hey, that's it, or just like I choose to be female now instead of just later on down the road, just like a light switch. It's not like that. I'm not trying to put it that way. More so the fact that I feel this is a chain of events that happened, and kind of it's like God's at my side going are you sure you want to do this? Because you're going to have a hard life ahead of you, but you'll be able to do all this stuff too. And I was like, I'll just do all that stuff too. I'd rather do that than just live that life that I would have led if I was just born female. And that's kind of the way that I see things. And what I like about this idea is that it's more of a sense of empowerment, a sense of this is why people are transgender, this is why people struggle the way they do, the way they define the ways that things do and whatnot. And it's sort of a way to say to yourself, it's fine, because this is the way that it had to go in terms of everything. Because I know what it sounds like right now to me in the most wrongest way is that God wants you to suffer and all this and that. And I don't think that's the case for any given person and whatnot. And I understand that not everyone has the same situation I have. I am not trying to belittle you in any way, shape, or form, or say that my situation is an indefinite thing. I just felt like this was what happened for me personally. And I like to think of it that way because it feels somehow correct to me. And I say it this way because I don't know what would have happened if I was born as a female, and solely and utterly as a female. That's biologically speaking and whatnot, not in terms of the male to female thing. Because I do wholeheartedly believe in all what I'm saying. And I think that, I honestly do think I'm better off being male to female than just being straight up being born a female. I know that's controversial, and I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of people right now, and that's why I kept kind of pre-upping it and whatnot. And I don't mean to make this as like some sort of special thing and whatnot. But to me, in the sense that all the people I've met, all the people I've talked to, and all the choices I made, I really feel if I was born female, I would not make the same choices. I would not talk to the same people. I would not have the life that I have. And the life that I have now is something that I like. I like my life the way it is right now. And frankly, I don't want to change it for the way it is. And if I was born female, I don't think I would have the same best friend. I'd have the same people I talk to in my life and the same way that life would go. And that's kind of my biggest point here, is that I wouldn't have the same life that I have now. And that's what I really want to hammer down here, is simply that. I still get to be female. I still get to be a woman to all these people's eyes, and I get to have them as friends. That is ridiculously awesome in every way, shape, and form. And they've all been super positive, super supportive, and it doesn't happen to everyone. I agree that it doesn't, that I am an extremely lucky person to have this. And that's kind of why I feel like I was given that choice to do that, to get this sort of like choice that like God gave me, and just like, hey, you'll have this, but you'll also be doing this, and you're just going to be down later in life. It's going to be harder for you, but you'll have these people to support you. And I feel like that was the case. I really do. And I know some people don't even believe in God. And I'm sure people out there that don't do that or whatnot, they're probably thinking, like, you believe in God, like, for real? And like, yeah, I do. At least in the sense that there's some sort of higher being up there, not necessarily watching over us and whatnot, but just is there, essentially, just doing whatever it is that they do, or whatever they do, rather. And that's the way I feel. I mean, I can't really delve too much into it, because honestly, I wasn't thinking much that way. But that's how I've seen it, and how I look at it. And I look at things more so as a choice, of a series of choices, rather than just one choice. Like how one choice affects another, and how another choice affects another. And if you don't think that your life wouldn't be different if you were born a different sex, you got some ruination coming for you, because it definitely would. No matter what, your life will change. That's just a simple fact. That's the way that the genders are. That's the way the sexes are. That's the way everything is in this world is, as of right now. I wish that was not the case. I wish that, you could be treated the same. You would have the same experiences just because of that, but we don't have that. And there's a lot of little subtle things that people don't look at that actually change a lot of it. And it's really weird to say that someone would want this, because I don't wish this on people. I don't. I don't wish this on anybody else. I've been very much a person with, I want to say, self-sacrificial attitude. And I think in terms of talking to people and having the people that I have, having the brother that I have, that wouldn't have happened, okay? My brother wasn't just some sort of brother from my own mother. He was not. We met in high school. We talked to each other, and it's just something that I feel like if I was female, would I have talked to him the same way? Would we have gone on dates? Would that have happened? Would we just never have talked again? I don't know what would have happened if I was female at that time. But being male, and just doing all that stuff then and there, him approaching me that way, and just kind of us growing as a bond of friendship, me telling him, and then him accepting, and all this and that, and just having him here as that kind of support, it's so insanely just to think that the same thing would happen if I was female. I mean, maybe not in the same shape and regards, but just there's so many things that are different when it comes to female and male relationships than there should be. And that doesn't really happen in high school. You don't really have female friends. You don't really have male friends on vice versa side. I mean, you can, and people do, but this is not like a standard. It's out of the norm, is what I'm saying here. I'm saying all these things, and I'm talking about all these things and rambling on about this, because it's not something I can quite put into words, and it's not something that I feel is my place to say for everybody, but it's just something that works for me. And I don't want to give the impression off I think every single person's this way, transgender or not. And it's just what's helped me gone through the day, essentially. And it's something that I talked to my mother about as of recent. And she was asking herself, because she's like, I know I shouldn't be feeling this way. I know I shouldn't be talking this way. But I really feel like I did something wrong or anything like that. And I just don't understand like how things are, but it's also your choice. And I don't have a say in it. I'm just like, you kind of do, but like not to a wide degree. And, you know, if I was born female, would I have really done the same things that like you needed to like have done? Would I support you the same way, or would you be more protective of me? Would you actually be that kind of person that just doesn't support me in the same way? Will we have butted heads more? It's that kind of thinking and whatnot that I feel is necessary to understand why things are the way they are. And I know that's not a particularly like happy point, but I do try to make sense of everything, and I don't like to be one of those people that say God has a plan. I don't think that's the case. I don't think God has a plan. I don't think God does everything pre-planned. I think he's very much just an observer more than anything else. And I'm sure he wants for the best of us, or the very least I hope for such a thing. But in terms of you helping others, being altruistic, and overall just having a good experience, it really comes down to the people you love and care about, and you yourself, and the way that you treat the world. It's more of a karma thing than it is God has a plan thing. Because if God had a plan every freaking time, we wouldn't have free will. And I feel like that's really taken away from the whole entire free will bit. But something like, hey, you're going to go through a lot of hardships later on in life, but you're also going to meet a lot of people beforehand. There's going to be a lot of people that you see and you talk to, and they won't know it yet. They won't know it, and you don't know it either. Not right away. But eventually you'll discover yourself the way that you really are. And you'll be this different person to society, but not to yourself and not to your friends. And when you tell them, when you tell your friends, when you ask them for the support, they'll help you, but it's going to be harder in life. Or you could go this different path and not have the same support, the same friendships, the same mistakes, the same problems, the same successes in life. But you'll at least be truer in the eyes of society. And I feel like being explained that way, if I was told that way, I would always choose the first degree and not the second. Because to me, the friendships that I've made, the people that I've talked to, are far more important than my own happiness in the beginning. I do want my own happiness. I do want to be true to myself, to others, and all that other jazz. And that's why I'm going through this. That's why I continue to strive to transition the way that I am, and why I keep wearing patches that keep falling off over and over every day and a day and day and day, and buying $15 worth of just like essentially like holding patch money. That's like a small price to pay for the support I have. That's a small price to pay for what I have to go through right now. Can you imagine going through all of this and not being supported? Because there's people that do that. There are people out there that go through life this way and no one supports them. And I am an extremely lucky person to do so. And I definitely don't thank my family and friends enough when it comes to that situation. And maybe that's in part because just the way that I am. I'm not a very talky-feely person when it comes to those things. I recognize that as a wholehearted thing. And if anything, that's probably something that's rubbed off from my mother more than anything else, which is kind of awkward, but it's true. But that's how I've always looked at it in terms of God and religion and whatnot. I'm not that religious of a person. If you ever met me, I wouldn't talk about God to you right away. In fact, this video I feel is very out of place and all over the place, in all honesty. And I'm not sure how well received it will be, or how people will handle it, or anything like that. And all of y'all here on the YouTube have been very nice to me too, and I'm very glad for that too. I haven't really met any jerks, so that's good. And no one to like fight me on things and whatnot. Not that I think I can't hold my own. It's just one of those things. It's like It's going to happen eventually. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not sure. Because when those stuff happens, you could say everything you want, you could do everything you want, but that holds the true character. And it's a scary bit for sure. But it's one I gotta face on my own. And it's definitely something that I'm scared to see happen if it does happen. But in terms of God and me, in terms of religion, I'm fine with it. I think religion has its own place in the transgender community, and I feel like there's still a lot of religions out there that are actually for us more than it is against us. And I know that's not the case right now in terms of other people and whatnot, but I really don't want people to see this as like I was born in a sin thing or whatnot. I want people to see this more as I had a choice to live a life of this or that, and I chose the latter. I chose to go through all my relationships first and foremost, and then transition the way that I did. That's the way I like to think of it. That's the enlightenment. That's the little gimmick there, I suppose. Because, I mean, when it comes down to it, you are the person that has control of your life, no matter what. You could say no anything about yourself and anything about these people here, and then you could be like, oh no, but I can't do this, I can't do that. You can always do something. You may get fired for it, you may get kicked out of the house, you may waste your life entirely on things, you may sweat a lot for no reason, but it's your life. You have the choices to make, and you have the way to present yourself the way you want to. And I've chosen to present myself as female now to the world. But I have a feeling that my friends wouldn't necessarily be like, this is like the worst thing to happen to you or anything like that. Or they're just like, yeah, you're just kind of like a new suit, I suppose. Or dress or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It was trying to be fancy, but it's not fancy. I know it's a hard topic, y'all, but that's how my hot take on it. It's definitely not a full thought out thing. And honestly, it's more of an idea. So if this idea can help anybody, and you can shape better ideas for yourself, I would like you to do that. I would like everyone to look at themselves and go, how would I have done things differently if I had this instead of this? And it doesn't have to be just being transgender. It could be anything. Be like eating a sundae instead of like on a Monday. So like a Sunday on a Sunday. It's ridiculous. Who does that? Anyway. Let's get this touchy-feely thing over with, yeah? This is week 5. And religion, big topic.